You are listening to the Overwatch Rundown, a weekly podcast covering the latest in esports scene of competitive Overwatch. Today is October 24th, and we are covering the OGN Apex Season 4 finals, as well as APAC group stages. Another season of OGN Jax is coming to a finish this past week with RunAway taking on none other than GC Busan, and perhaps what no one would have predicted at the start of the season with these two teams making it here. I mean, maybe RunAway was predicted to make it by like a dark horse pick by some people. I don't think anyone picked GC Busan to go all the way.
Coming into the second group stages, no one would have picked GC Busan to make it through Lunatic High and then Cloud9 Kangdu. But as we've said multiple times, Lepelos, on the Overwatch Rundown, Tracer is broken.
I mean that
I was listening.
That's pretty much. I agree with that. I can't believe how much we've talked about it and how much it goes. Listen, it's funny because I still see people saying, "Well, Tracer could be better at this and that," and no. Yeah, we're strongly opposed to any buffs to Tracer, and I think we both agree she needs some tuning, shall we call it.
I mean, I was watching APAC group stages about 20-30 minutes ago, and Jamerson made the comment, of Tracer being an army unto herself, and that's just a fact. And the other fact, level is Tracer. Some people say Blizzard balanced the game around Tracer.
No way.
Because she is the only character to have never been touched, and I think it's time Blizzard takes a look at her. I mean, if you take a look at GC Busan, Prophet. I mean, yes, they're a really good team, but Prophet and the work that he did on Tracer carried them through multiple games, and it's kind of interesting that I say that when I look at this final that we're about to go over, because of how GC Busan went about a couple of maps.
Yeah, we'll get into that, but just to stay on this Tracer point for sure, a little bit, like just a moment longer. I mean, we've always talked about the top tracers, right? Like, we've been doing this now since Soon and Rogue went off, or, and have really been...
Soon is a meme now, Lepelos. People don't even rate Soon very highly.
I know, but...
It's like they've forgotten what he did when Rogue came out of hibernation last January or February. But, it's not just Soon. So take a look at Envy. Envy is the same team, except... they have Effect now, Lepelos, and they have an Effect who has been working on his English and can now communicate better with his team. What does Effect mainly do? He plays Tracer. Yes, Effect is a great player. He plays Doomfist. He can play a lot of things, but his Tracer filled a slot that Envy didn't really have. Take a look at Misfits. Misfits, yes, they still have Tavik. Yes, they still have a lot of really good players, but I look at Logix and what he did with that team. And quite honestly, Lepelos, if I go back to the Season 1 finals for EU, Logix's poor performance is why Misfits did not win that series. Whereas if you take a look at Gigante, Davin, he's not, S tier, not a tier 1 tracer like Logix or Effect or Prophet, but he's a really good tracer and he complements Linkser very well. All these teams who win Lepelos, they all have a tracer. The only one who doesn't even really have a top tier tracer for me that won something, believe it or not, was Lunatic High. But Lunatic High was great at everything else that they didn't need that top tier tracer.
You bring up a good point though when you bring up Lunatic High, because what they did have for a long time was one of the best Genjis, which has been seeing drop off, Jax.
You say it's been seeing drop off, and then I look at Overwatch, I look at OGN Season 4 finals that we're about to go over, Lepelos. Where's the Genji drop off? I'm seeing more Genji.
Exactly. Okay, but it's been interesting because there definitely has been a lull where people seem to have figured out the way to deal with Genjis. In fact, you could argue that GC Busan, one of those teams that shut down Genjis really hard that they faced.
Yep. And GC Busan with their mixture of Prophet on the Tracer and then Hureg on the hit scan, they did very well up close. And just to go back and look at Kai right quick, I was amazed. Like last week when we had the OGN Soul Cup and Lunatic High ran Who Are You on Tracer.
Yeah.
And it was a really good Tracer. And it's just and when they put him down and they brought in Munchkin on Tracer, again a really good Tracer. And
almost an improvement
this is
actually
when it
over
comes like
what they
Lebelos.
had. But
Look at Flash Wolves. What do I say about Flash Wolves? Bacon Jack. Bacon Jack. What does Bacon Jack play? Bacon Jack plays a lot of Tracer, and it's like you just keep coming back to this man. And some people will try to say, well, Tracer is actually balanced. She's the only one that is balanced
that's
and
such
actually
crap.
works right. I don't agree with that.
I
But
that,
this is what people will say, and
there's no
we'll
there's
see.
listen. The game is asymmetrically balanced as per any game where you have different abilities for different heroes. Tracer remains one of the only heroes that has a bit of everything. Right, her only weakness is her health. Right, she has small hitbox. She has movement. She has 2 movement. She has a cleanse and a heal.
She can be bursted if you can catch her, Lebelos.
Yeah, she can be bursted, and that's about it. Right, like that, and she has no verticality. There you go. There's another weakness. Like
Lebelos, you say that, and yet we see Tracer on every map. Watch Point Gibraltar, a lot of verticality there. Tracer, Numbani has a lot of elevations. Eichenwald, a lot of elevations, right? What do you see? You see Tracer.
yeah, of course you see Tracer because of all the other mobility options she has. But the point is, still going to be an important part of the meta. Jax, why don't we get into the OGN final with RunAway versus GC Busan? One of the top performing Tracers at the moment in this series here on
Profit was why
for
I took
GC
GC Busan to win the final Lebelos, because of how strongly I feel Tracer affects the meta and affects teams and their ability to win. And with Profit playing at the level that he was, I didn't see how GC Busan was going to lose.
Yeah, for me, I went with RunAway because both teams they've had their scrappy.
Yeah.
They're both sort of scrappy, and RunAway had a little bit more experience, and I was hoping that in the long, if this game was going to go long, the series, that their previous best of 7 in season 2.
Yeah, RunAway has a 7-game stamina. Their lack of stamina is what cost them. In season 2. Which, and you know what, Lunatic High, they had the experience at that point and put it to good use. I was hoping for a good final, and I think we had a pretty good final.
I have to agree. It was definitely a good final. Jax, why don't we go through some of the score lines and talk about some of the points then from this final between these two teams in OGN. Grand final, of course, following up with a similar map structure, starting off with Nepal, actually, for the King of the Hill. And it went all 3 rounds, Jax. It did go all 3 rounds.
It was pretty much what I expected at the start. I mean, like literally the first note that I have on the Sanctum map, which was first, Prophet's so good on Tracer. Like that's the first thing I write down. I mean, yes, I've already been talking about it, but he just, for me, I was in this grand occasion. The one thing I was looking for was the logic effects, where Logic's Lepelos, fantastic Tracer, but at that LAN, he stumbled, right, for Contender Season 1. Now, Prophet's been playing on a LAN the entire season, okay, but he hasn't been playing in the grand finals with all those people there. That's a lot of people there, Lepelos. A lot of Screamer RunAway fans, to be more precise, because I think, everybody likes RunAway. So I was really looking to see how Prophet would work on, or not work, but how well he would do in this final, and he started out pretty good.
Yeah, actually, on the flip side, I actually would, from my notes, I would say like Kure coming out with the Farah here and the pharmacy in general for GC Busan, doing a little bit more work than I was expecting to sort of help them secure that. Obviously, became a major focal point for RunAway to deal with, but ran it on all 3 maps, and overall it paid off despite losing Shrine to RunAway. That one 199.
But see, Lepelos,
coming back in the village for really strong work there.
The reason why I feel they lost Shrine was Hurek got a little greedy. RunAway had not. They never put hit scan. They just been running Genji Tracer the whole time. Not the greatest at dealing with the Farah. When Hurek came in to actually use his barrage at one point and died, and then got his mercy killed as well, that's when they lost control of the map. Previously, he's just sitting up there at long distance spamming away. He went into close CQC fight where you don't want to be as Farah, used the barrage where he's just a sitting duck and died, and the momentum switched to RunAway, and while it did go back and forth a little bit, RunAway was able to hold on. If Hurek doesn't do that, if he just stays with what he's been doing, this is a 2-0. But, as you said, it goes on to map 3, the Village.
Yeah, and Village ends up being pretty quickly. The Farah here getting a ton of work.
Oh, actually.
Sound barrier, though, coming out on the side of RunAway. They forced that one out. You have to say they forced that one out and did not look good. Maybe some jitters on stage, Jax, for the Runaway side, sort of concerning at this stage of the series, and it sort of shows they weren't able to really take that fight.
I'm sort of concerned by my own lack of, reading comprehension for notes that I wrote. I was mistaken. It was actually on Village where Hurek got greedy and almost cost him the map. On Shrine, just to go back right quick, it was
Yes.
Hacksaw who went hero mode with the 3K Dragon Blade. The casters rightly called it out. If Hacksaw does not get the 3K Dragon Blade, they do not win that map. I mean, yes, after Hacksaw got that Dragon Blade, the point was flipped back and forth a couple of times.
By the way,
that was a crucial moment. If he does, they seriously lose that.
Yeah, Runaway also gave up that point. You said in the flips, they also gave that point up during the fight, which again, you know how much we hate that here on the rundown. That is not something like we like to see. Jax, let's go ahead and move on to Hollywood though. Second map. Runaway
pick. Mid scan. They got to do with this Farah. You can't just ignore Farah. Where's the Farah check level? They're not meeting it.
Did not meet it, but that's okay. Hollywood, they did not bring out the Farah off the start. GC Busan with an interesting defense off the start. I don't want to mention this because it's interesting to see what additional strategies come out. Here they had Hureg in the little hole off of point. So not in the cafe, not on the stairwell up, but actually on that attacker's side of point, that little hole into that tunnel. And he was primo bait, Jax. Primo bait for that run. They went for him, which I don't disagree with. Listen, you got to go for him. It's a seeming like a free kill. The only thing is, he can run away, which he did, and the rest of GC Busan is going to fall in behind him. You should know that's going to happen, right? So you need a maybe a little bit of thought when you do it, but it worked out perfectly for there. But
on the second fight, I'm looking at Hagelpin on the Zen fragging out. He got the kill on Zen on Cox, his counterpart, and then got the kill on his Tracer Stitch. And then the third fight, what happened? Prophet pulse bomb on Cox stops the third fight before it even starts. And it took them 4 pushes to get through, but
from there though. Jax, I mean, Runaway very quick in the second. Hacksaw starts waking up here, and they managed to continue that momentum. Jax, they finished with a minute 47, despite having such a slow attack and almost being held on that A point.
The second phase is when Hacksaw woke up. He actually had a Dragon Blade that came out Lepolos. It didn't get anything with it. Put out so much damage and got his another Dragon Blade so quickly. Cox switched over from Zen to the Soldier, as Korean supports are more known to do. And GC Busan could not deal with the burst that was coming out, especially from Hacksaw, who was just cleaning up everything as Genji is made to do, Lepolos. And Runaway just rode that momentum all the way to the end of the map. Huyal, the diva for GC Busan, might as well not have even been there, Lepolos. There was no mitigation coming out from the triple DPS comp of Runaway, and at that point, if you don't have mitigation from diva, then what? Hacksaw was busy killing all the tanks, Lepolos. Like, they just did nothing.
Yeah, we'll come back. We'll come back to Hacksaw. I wanted to talk about GC Busan's attack a little bit. Sombra EMP, basically the reason why GC Busan able to get through A and the first checkpoint here.
You say the first checkpoint. I say the EMP is the only reason they got through any checkpoint.
Yeah, that is true. Okay, next thing I wanted to mention was the alt value off of both teams here in the second phase, particularly really poor. Both teams dropping or not getting as much off of their alts that they would want. I think that generally helps the defense more overall, and Runaway able to take off some time here.
It helped the defense, and Runaway was playing the clock very well because it was EMP or nothing for GC Busan Lepolos. EMP to get the first point, to get the second point. Cox was a free kill on the Zenyatta because they snuck in with the Sombra point blank EMP. Cox immediately dead. He had the Transcendence, but he couldn't use it, so they had no sustain. And towards the end, it's just more of the same.
Yeah, that is true. Hacksaw, though, coming out, I believe, with the Dragon Blade late in the third phase, allowing Runaways to set up a hold here. Janu coming through with a 3-kill self-destruct.
And then
next
with
defense.
And then he gets in the boost kill levels. He boosts in
and he boosts, yeah. So he did work there to buy some more time. That's important, Jax, because they managed to hold GC Busan down in time, enforcing an OT capture.
EMP or nothing for GC Busan on Hollywood Attack Lepolos.
I think from there it's pretty simple to say Runaway. listen, they came back and absolutely dismantled the defense in the second attack of GC Busan.
I
GC
think they had a
Busan
minute
went
and
more standard here, and when they went more standard, RunAway immediately just destroyed them right on that A point, making
they
it
had a
pretty
minute
easy.
and 47 seconds. I think they finished it in at right around 1 minute.
Yeah,
The dive was too strong. They dove in, got whatever they wanted, laughed as they capped the point, and evened up the series 1-1
yeah.
going into Hanamura.
Yeah, Hanamura here, RunAway's successful first attack through A, but not really contesting in B right away. Meant they didn't even build up a tick, Jax. I think they had a moment where they could have done that in the snowball, but it didn't really turn out for them. RunAway does eventually get a series of kills
Yeah.
later on, and that really ends up being a quick capture. All of a sudden, 2CP
What
mode.
you call a series of kill levels, I call RunAway dive is all or nothing.
Yeah.
They ran the same combo. Look, they had 6 minutes and 40 seconds to push the second point Lepelos. It took them about 5 minutes before they made any progress on that all or nothing dive, where the kills just had. I mean, when you run dive like that, the kills have to line up right, or the stagger comes in and you make no progress because it's 2CP, and Jeff Kaplan doesn't listen to the Overwatch rundown for whatever reason, and as a result has not made changes to 2CP. If you listen to the Overwatch rundown, you will know 2CP is broken and needs to be removed until it's fixed.
But speaking of 2CP, we have to talk about GC Busan's attack. Hooray breaking out the McCree on 2CP. I just wanted to get your comment on that, if I could first, Jax. How do you feel about that McCree coming out here on Hanamura attack?
I mean, I like McCree is one of the counters to not a hard counter, but it's one of the counters to Tracer, so they're trying to deal with the Genji Tracer dive. A good flashbang will get you a kill on either Genji or Tracer Lepelos. I didn't mind the McCree pick here.
But
there's
a couple of things I wanted to talk about here. RunAway's holding A pretty well until the fight gets messy on A point here.
Yeah.
Then they start investing ultimates in basically a messy / losing fight because of the nature of how far your spawn is for the defense here. That is concerning. Is that not, Jax? Like, would you not be concerned if you're doing that? So then the question is, what happened to the GC Busan attack where they had the ultimates after they took A point there?
Execution Lepelos. It goes back to what you were saying on Hollywood about the teams not really getting much value out of their ultimates. For me, okay, if I'm going back in order here, on Nepal, GC Busan got more from their ultimates than RunAway. On Hollywood, both teams had very questionable ultimates, but RunAway just flat out killed better than GC Busan did. So now we're here on Hanamura here, Lepelos, and as you say, GC Busan has the ultimates. They should make good progress here, and they don't. They just don't use it right.
Yeah, it's definitely disappointing. I mean, this was GC Busan's moment, particularly to make a really quick time. They did get 2 ticks again a bit later.
It's 2CP, Lepelos.
But I mentioned messy fights on A that RunAway almost held with ultimate investment. Listen, if you're doing that on A point and you're getting messy fights on B point now, there's no way you're going to get through it. GC Busan unable to close it out here on Hanamura, allowing RunAway to take another map.
I'm looking at Hureg, and the output is not there from the hit scan position. Previously, you had Prophet doing what Prophet does on Tracer. Hureg was putting in some serious work on hit scan, whether it's Soldier or McCree, and getting those Helix rocket kills, getting output. Here, Hureg, for me, it's just why they didn't make it work. Like, nothing was coming out from him. The tanks would dive in, okay, but if you don't get the like a high ground hit scan on Hanamura can be a gold mine for you, Lepelos, because quite often they're so busy worried about the Tracer and the tanks in the back line that you're left on the high ground either in the middle or on the right side, and you're free to just clean up fights. We see it all the time. Here, Hureg was never in a position to get the work done. A lot of that is RunAway not giving him the space that he needed to do it, but I have to look at this clock that they had, Lepelos. 5 minutes and 5 seconds to push the second point. They did nothing with that time. These teams are so rigid in what they want to play that it hurts them. Like, they stuck with Tracer, McCree, Tracer, Soldier. Okay, you got to change it up after 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah, that is.
Otherwise, you lose the map like they did here, and we end up with RunAway up 2-1.
So here, GC Busan down a map now, showing some concerns in terms of their composition. They decide to take it to Gibraltar this time, Jax. couple of changes in composition coming for their attack on this map.
Huge changes.
First
in
off, let's
here,
mention
Lepelos.
Cox breaking out the Widow. Obviously, he's a great hit scan. Widowmaker, and not so great here. But let's talk about the other one, Jax. I know you're setting this one up. I'll let you take this because it's probably something you want to talk about.
I mean, Lepelos, we're seeing a 2-2-2. I mean, sorry, a 2-3-1 out of GC Busan. Genji, Tracer, Widow. You would say, okay, Prophet on the Tracer, Cox on. Sorry, not Cox. RunAway.
Sorry.
RunAway ran a 2-3-1,
Yeah,
and GC Busan ran a static 2-2-2.
Yeah.
So we had Prophet
GC
on
Busan
Tracer
defense,
and Hureg on the Genji, except that wasn't what happened, Lepelos. We're seeing Hureg on the Tracer and Prophet on the Genji. And I watched this as a VOD, and I'm telling you, I stopped for a second. I had to pause right here because I'm trying to figure out what in the world GC Busan is doing. You don't to take a world-class Tracer off of Tracer and put him on Genji. I had serious doubts, Lepelos. Serious doubts, man.
Yeah,
because
and you're
putting him a Genji against Hacksaw, arguably Lepelos, the best Genji in Korea, depending on whether he or who are you, if they had their Wheaties for breakfast that morning. Whoever had the most Wheaties is the better Genji. And I'm saying this is a huge ask. You're asking him to do a lot.
Not only that,
against RunAway.
Not only that, the pressure is on Hureg to win the Tracer v Tracer. And Jax, this starts off Stitch finding Hagopin quickly here as RunAway make that CP.
I literally have it in my notes. Stitch all over them.
Yeah, it's brutal. In fact, I'll simplify this, Jax. 450 was the time on the clock that they had for the third phase attack here for RunAway. That's the time that they had.
There was no hanger defense whatsoever. I mean, for me, I noticed we just glossed over the fact that Cox was on Widow. Cox, by the way, you talk about great hit scan. Did you see how many shots he missed on Prophet's Genji Lepelos?
He totally
miss.
Totally was not playing well there. But, I mean, the team around him living up to what they need. On the flip side, GC Busan looking a little weak going into on this defense until Jax, the third phase here. Third phase, things change completely.
The payload finally stopped around 3.27 meters short. So literally right outside, the spawn for the final point. There was about 3 minutes and 40 seconds, 3 minutes or 50 seconds left on the clock when GC Busan finally did something with their defense, Lepelos. And from here is when I go back to what I just said about GC Busan Hanamura. You run the same composition for 5 minutes, you get no progress. You cannot be that rigid. In this current Overwatch meta, you must be flexible, Lepelos. There are so many options right now for attack or defense. We who did we watch? Who was it? Who did we praise last week for the fantastic game on Kings Row? Was it Lunatic High and MY? I think it was. Where we saw all these heroes being played at a rather high level, Lepelos.
Yes.
And I'm sitting here. And honestly, I'll let you fill it in, but I'm looking at 2 points in 85.44 meter distance is what RunAway was held to. They had that fantastic attack through the first 95% of the map, Lepelos. Except that final part, guess what? Defenders now have the position advantage, Lepelos. They have the spawn advantage, and the attackers, they get stretched a little bit thin here. And for me, RunAway, they made no changes.
Yeah, no, it's concerning. I'll be honest. They didn't make any more progress there, and they didn't close out in Jax. Something we talk about often is about that closing instinct not coming through here. A huge issue.
I
Jax,
thought they had Lepelos. When I saw how well they did, because one of the things that we talk about with Korea and the Korean teams and their strengths is their preparation. Unless they had inside information from whoever GC Busan scrimmed with Lepelos, they didn't really have much time to prepare for Prophet, Genji, and Hureg Tracer.
Yeah.
This had to have thrown them. And when I saw how they reacted to it, one, I think GC Busan played it rather poorly because even with Cox standing with Widow doing nothing, RunAway still got whatever they wanted.
Yeah,
they never dealt with Stitch. And
blew right through.
So for me, I'm looking at it. I actually don't have. I have here in my notes. I'm a reader. I don't even think GC Busan played that great. They just played to their positional and respawn strengths while RunAway ran their head into that wall.
Yeah.
They didn't do anything great. Prophet was an okay Genji.
Yeah.
Okay Tracer.
Okay. Yeah. This is RunAway's failing to close out, and Jackson ends up costing them. Profit still on Genji for GC Busan attack.
Oh.
Runaway ultimates here, the real story, as they're not finding value or particularly good timing for them. On the flip side, GC Busan actually getting value with their ults, even if they're not playing at the same level.
Living in the back line. No one's dealing with him.
They had time on the clock when they make the distance jack, so you cannot do this. This was a map that should have gone for Runaway, and while I up until that they got held in the third, I was feeling Runaway was going to end this series quicker. After this moment, I was very concerned about them.
I figured Runaway. I figured at some point, I think any team should be able to win at least one fight on defense on a payload like this.
Yes.
And GC Busan did that. So, okay, that to me was expected. Runaway failing to make any adjustments, that was, I can't say unexpected because that's what they've done all season.
Yeah.
But it's poor execution from them Lepelos. For me, I'm looking at Profit on the Genji, right? He's not flashy at all on their attack as well. Slow and steady Lepelos, methodically built the Dragon Blades, and he used it to wipe the fight right before second, right? Hagopin, again, he's playing very well in that support slot, Lepelos. In a meta where Zens have been struggling, if you look at Unko, if you look at Ryu, Jaehong, Lepelos, their lack of output in their support slots ultimately cost their teams in Season 1 of Contenders and in Season 4 of OGN. You're so used to Unko and Ryu, Jaehong just getting these kills on their supports that when it doesn't happen, the team has to make up for it. Hagopin playing very well on the Zenyatta here. Hureg living in the back line, Lepelos. They're not dealing with him on Runaway side. And
they're allowed to have their way.
Cox, horrible transcendence to try to stall the second point defense. GC Busan as a whole playing as a better team. And for me, Lepelos, Profit showing that while his Genji isn't great, he's making a name for himself because he wants to get that $150,000 like Sinatra. Okay, he's saying, I can play DPS, sign me to the Overwatch League. Fantastic work here by GC Busan, Lepelos. In the final third, Hacksaw Dragon Blade gets almost nothing.
Yeah.
On the flip side, Profit comes out with Dragon Blade, Lepelos, multiple kills.
Yes. They absolutely deserve that win. Jax, they force the series back to a tie. Runaway taking this to Anubis for the next one.
Lepelos, they should have closed it out right there. They should have closed it out right here on Watch Point. Runaway. We'll see.
Well, I mean, it wasn't match point, but they should have had that one there. They should have had momentum going to whatever the next 2CP would have been. Here, though, GC Busan going on attack with Hureg running on the Widow for a quick A. Snowball is real for them. Runaway stall a little bit here. Managed to hold after minute 2 ticks for Runaway. For GC Busan. And they eventually managed to get that final tick with minute 21. Runaway going on attack A-well, but Jax, from here, I know you want to take it off as they switch to a 2-3-1 with Cox on that Reaper.
Lepelos, fantastic first point attack. Cannot fault Runaway for what they did. They ended up with about, 6 minutes 50, 7 minutes to push the second point, Lepelos. 4 minutes gone. The next note I have, 4 minutes gone, 1 tick. 1 tick. GC Busan switched off their 2-2-2 to a 2-3-1. Hagopin Lepelos moving over to the Sombra. Defensive Sombra works perfectly well, as we all know, on Temple of Anubis. At the 3-minute mark, Lepelos, Hagopin, EMP. Interesting that GC Busan lost the fight, but because it's 2CP, they only lost 1 tick. The very next fight, Lepelos, but going into overtime for GC Busan. 6 ultimates for GC Busan. They, of course, hold here. For me, Hacksaw, unable to go hero mode with the Dragon Blade. He gets 1 Lepelos. Everyone but Bumper for a Runaway has the sound barrier removed by Hagopin's EMP. Profit, Lepelos off. Profit has Dragon Blade, doesn't get much with it, comes off respawn. Surprise Bastion. In seconds, Lepelos, less than 30 seconds, 80% ultimate charge for Profit on Bastion as they close out the map.
One of the best.
Incredible damage coming out from this guy.
One of the best Bastion switches, most effective that we've seen. I know we talked about this. I mentioned that usually, at least in the matches that we have seen him pulled in the last bit,
it's a gimmick.
It's been a gimmick, but usually it's only that way because it's either the defense has already been rolled or the offense is already rolling. So here, though, it was still sort of up in the air. In this is why you pick Bastion, Jax. What are you going to do in a scramble like that against the
Lepelos, when
Bastion?
you look at what they're running for 7, I say again, when you look at what they ran for 7 minutes, what's going to get to him? They're so it's a hectic fight, right? It's
Yeah.
overtime. People are staggered off of respawns because of the extra respawn timer. Lepelos. I mean, honestly, I didn't expect the Bastion. I really did not expect him to come back on Bastion. Fantastic play by him, but again, Lepelos, I have to look at RunAway. Where is the flexibility? You cannot run the same comp for 7 minutes, dude.
Yeah, we'll see if they decide to go with that
Oh,
going into the
7
next
minutes?
runaway, taking the next map pick to Dorado Jax. GC Busan
Okay.
struggling a little bit on their attack early here. Profit still on that Genji. Do manage to make it into the third Jax here, but Runaway showing up with a pretty good defense this time around, holding them early in that third phase. This is very doable, Jax.
I literally have here Lepelos. This has been one of the most straightforward attacks I've seen in a while. There was no, I mean, it was methodical from GC Busan. Profits, Genji, Lepelos. There's no flash. There's
Yeah.
no flash from GC Busan, especially from like when you look at who are you, when you look at Haxel or Tavik, right? They have magic on Genji. Like it's just you're left saying, "Wow, Genji is broken." Like his snowball potential because of the dash on Swift Strike is crazy. GC Busan slowly, and I say slowly because they're running a 2-2-2 jive Lepelos, and it was as if they just slowly set a pace to try to make it through until the end where they ran out of gas and were unable to close it out. Hacksaw, really good Genji here, Lepelos.
Yeah.
He had to step up. He had to because Runaway was they were on the ropes.
Yeah, and
coming into this map.
And their attack pretty much showed that they had the persistence to come through here. I'll shorten this one down. Jack's 2:36 on the clock when they capture the final distance. Really strong attack coming out of Runaway here.
I mean,
this looked like their map. This looked like GC Busan hadn't practiced this one enough, to be honest.
I mean,
if I was to
that,
simplify it, this is what I would say about this map.
Not just hadn't practiced it, Lepelos. I'm just here at this point in the game. I'm wondering why are they sticking with this 2-2-2 comp the way it is? Like, why is Prophet not on Tracer? Lepelos, he went from Genji to Soldier. His Soldier did nothing.
Yeah, no, it's definitely concerning Jax.
I don't understand why they. I mean, I get the surprise factor on Watchpoint where you wanted to throw them, and okay, it worked again on Hanamura. Sorry, on Temple of Anubis, but now on Dorado, when you see your defense is crumbling, at some point you say, guys, we got to rotate this up again and go back to what worked here. They stuck it out, Lepelos, and very questionable play. This is the finals. There's so many questionable compositions by these teams.
Yeah, definitely. Jax, and speaking of that, GC Busan going into Eichenwald, going on attack first here, and what do we have but Profit back on that Genji?
Serious concern here, Lepelos. Serious concern here, but even more concerning for me was some of the Transcendence play that came out from Hagelpin and Cox here.
Particularly on the A push here.
A point specifically. Hagelpin, Lepelos, horrible Transcendence. Cox compounds it. I mean, I shouldn't say compound,
but brings it out.
Counters with his own Lepelos for no reason. Listen, most of GC Busan was dead. That's why Hagelpin's Transcendence was a waste. It was I think it was him and maybe one other. And Zen with Transcendence isn't gonna do any damage to you, Lepelos. No one was in danger of dying from Runaway, and Cox using that was horrible. You know why it's horrible, Lepelos? Because the very next fight, Prophet comes in with Dragon Blade, and you know what they didn't have? Transcendence. So Dragon Blade gets the kills, gets GC Busan the first cap, and Runaway now in not a very good position.
They do manage
Transcendence here.
They do manage to make an early stop in the second phase, Jackson. They do a good hold. In fact, they're able to force OT out before the cart has really made it over the bridge. Good position to be in as a defense. You know, that last point hard to break into, even into OT. That second point over the bridge into the castle, making that second checkpoint there hard to break going into OT. But here, GC Busan able to do it. And I wanted to just say here, Dragon's Blades out both sides. Haxel, nothing. Profit, 2 kills off his. Difference here. Difference maker in the Genjis.
Lepelos to cap second. Huge props to closer on Lucio.
Yeah,
fantastic boop onto the Winston. allows Prophet to come in and clean it up. I'm not even sure if Prophet needed to use a Dragon Blade, but he wanted to secure that second point, Lepelos. Going into the final point, you want to know what I have here in my notes? Monster play by Prophet to push the final point. This guy wants to make $150,000 like Sinatra.
Yeah,
Janu,
Hacksaw.
Janu close to pulling it back with a 2K self-destruct on Diva. Not enough because Prophet ran around on Genji, dashing and slashing and laughing all the way to the bank.
Yeah, no, it definitely was concerning for RunAway. RunAway having to make the distance now.
Gotta cap it out, Lippos.
On their attack.
Gotta cap it out. You got to.
And they were struggling. They're struggling against a strong initial GC Busan defense. They are looking a little disorganized on their attack, but do manage to make it through
Prophet is
A.
crushing them. Prophet on A point is crushing them on Genji, Lepelos. You thought he was Hacksaw.
Yeah, and at this point, RunAway looking just as I said, completely desperate. Even though they make it into the second, like they're partway through the second phase, but they try and extend that fight longer and longer, but it's a losing fight, and then they toss a wasted sound barrier again. This is at least the second one in the series here that they've absolutely tossed away here.
By GC Busan?
But no, by RunAway's here.
I mean, for me, you talking about that wasted sound barrier? I mean, the sound barriers from GC Busan on first point is because I know you're talking about Ronan. I'm talking about GC Busan right quick. On first point for GC Busan, great sound barrier to counter Hacksaw's Dragon Blade. Going into the second point, they timed things a bit poorly here, but they used a Transcendence Lepelos, they used and a sound barrier, and still were losing people to Hacksaw's Dragon Blade because they weren't in range and just very poor positioning.
Yeah.
So the support ultimate, not a little bit, hit or miss this series.
I mean, we're not done here. RunAway on their attack though. Despite that, they do make a good push in overtime. Do manage to get it over the bridge, but GC Busan just enough there. Cox just maybe a second too late to save his Winston with that Transcendence, as GC Busan holds on for the win.
You say Cox little too late with the Transcendence. Here's the deal. He started it with that first Transcendence that I said was bad, okay, because people still died to Prophet's Dragon Blade. From there, Lepelos, he put out serious damage to build another Transcendence or come close to building another Transcendence. The story here, Lepelos, I'm sorry, was Closer. Closer MVP this right here with what he did on Lucio. He got the bump again on the previous time Lepelos. He bumped he bumped the Winston over the side to get rid of him. Here he got the bump onto Bumper, believe it or not, who was Lucio for RunAway. Lepelos had 92% on his sound barrier. It was a very active fight, so that 8% was going to be gotten very quickly, whether by damage or by healing. From there, with Bumper down, Hacksaw Lepelos goes down 99% on the Dragon Blade. If he has the buffer, if he has the sound barrier from Bumper, Hacksaw most likely gets the Dragon Blade out, and who knows what could happen because Dragon Ball is that snowbally of an
Dragon
ultimate.
Ball.
Tizzy comes back, Lepelos, Primal Rage. See, people in the chat want to write, oh, C9.
Whatever.
A little bit of C9, but not really. Lepelos,
really.
He was going to die. He had to jump to survive.
Yeah.
He mistimed his jump because he went too high, didn't get back down in time. But at that point, for me, the round was over once Closer got the bump. I mean, I'm sorry, that was huge. 92% on sound barrier, which meant Hacksaw didn't have this. One, he didn't have a Lucio healing him, didn't have a sound barrier to sustain him. 99% on Dragon Blade, Lepelos. So you would have had the sound barrier to sustain Hacksaw with the Dragon Blade. Tizzy coming off respawn, Lepelos. He arrived moments later with the Primal Rage to add more chaos to the mix. Who knows what would have happened here? Who knows? But congrats, GC Busan, Lepelos.
Close final. Really close final.
Close final. This was a throw by RunAway. Now, again, I'm not gonna put this on Tizzy for missing his leap at the end. That's not the throw. The throw was that they were beaten by their own composition, Lepelos.
And moreover, what we had said going in off the start today about how important Tracer was. We see Prophet running Genji, one of the best Tracers, not coming out on Tracer and making a difference on Genji. Jax, are we wrong? Are we wrong about what we're saying about Tracer?
Are you kidding me? Stitch and Hurag, we're just killing people. No, Tracer is broken, but for me, Lepelos, it's just the drop. the drop off was not as big as I thought it would have been. I still would like to ask their coach why. I get the first time doing it to throw RunAway, and perhaps they felt that RunAway still had not adjusted to this comp even after Dorado, where it looked like they had.
Yeah.
I would really. On Eichenwald Lepelos, I expected to see a Pharah. I thought for sure it would be Prophet Tracer who wrecked Pharah on Eichenwald because RunAway has shown such reluctance to deal with Pharah via hit scan.
Yeah.
And I thought this was going to happen. And then like after Dorado, when I look at how bad they played, how average I should say Prophet looked on Genji and then on Soldier, I'm thinking, okay, that experiment is over. They're now going to go back to their 2-2-2. But it's the little things, Lepelos. Like, you can't account for things like the boops you saw out of Closer here. You just can't. I'm sorry, Cox Lepelos, he cannot use Transcendence like he did on that 8 point.
I agree.
They were holding so well. You can't do that.
If I was to complain about anything in terms of RunAway's play, it was their support wasn't up to their regular level, I would say, this time around. I mean, Cox, I don't think had a stellar series in this.
He had a few moments, like I said.
Bumper.
He had a few moments.
Bumper was all right. Haxel was as inconsistent as Prophet was on Genji, which is not what you want Haxel.
That was a big thing.
That was huge. Again, I personally go back to the play that really made this last Eichenwald map, which was the difference going into overtime. GC Busan could have been held even before the bridge, and RunAway weren't able to even hold it at the door. And I go to that 0 kills versus 2 kills Dragon Blade difference right there, because they're basically at the same time, Jax.
Not just that, Lepelos, but at that moment, you're giving props to Prophet, as you should. I have to give props to Closer. Again, he got the boop on the Tizzy. The Winston was gone.
Yeah, no, I mean, these are huge plays, and huge plays like that are the reason why GC Busan won. You look at RunAway attack, go back to what I said. I'm pretty sure I said disorganized desperation as they're getting down on their attack there in the second phase, and including basic mistakes like extending losing fights and throwing away a sound barrier early. And yeah, I know it's Game 7, you're a little concerned, but you can't be doing that then. That's
you can't be doing that, Lepelos. Hacksaw, I mean, I don't know how well they track the ultimates, but so many times Hacksaw will put out the Dragon Blade only to be met by a sound barrier or a Transcendence, and got so little value from it. Where Prophet wasn't at, I mean, I think on Dorado is when Prophet got a little too loose with his Dragon Blades, and at one point he was saved his Dragon Blade when he should have lost it.
Yeah.
But if it was live, he would have lost it. But
Jax, I'm gonna call this done for season 4. We're done there.
I would just say, Lepelos, people look at supports a lot more than we normally do. For me, Ryuji Hung and Toby, huge part of why Lunatic High won season 3, Lepelos.
Yes.
Hagopin here, I talked about him a little bit. He played very well. 1 or 2 missed transcendences, but his damage output on Zen was top notch. Really, really good play by Hagopin. Closer, for me, Toby is the best Lucio in the world. Closer. Playing at a high level on those boops levels,
no, but if you have a game of your life or whatever, and you have that during the finals, that's what you need.
That awareness and positioning to get the boops level. How many times in our own games do you think, oh, I'm gonna get this epic boop, and then
you die for it? I mean, it's usually a
huge plays by this guy.
Usually a risky play to do so. On the flip side, I can't say the same was coming out of Bumper and Cox.
Can't. I feel so Lepelos.
The tanks seem pretty comparable between Tizzy and Janu, and I mean, okay, well, listen, the tanks on GC Busan, particularly Gesture, was doing really well. Obviously, Wu Hyel was alright.
Wu Hyel, I wasn't the biggest fan of this series,
but that was sort of made up by Gesture performing well. Yeah. So they sort of balanced out with Tizzy and Janu, I would say, and the DPS. Because Haxel was up and down and Prophet was up and down on Genji, both of them, I can't give it to the DPS combo. I'd say maybe the flexibility of Hurek, particularly on that Pharah in the first map, I would have to give it to them because of that. Because Stitch, while he was good on the Tracer, particularly when he got to face off against Hurek on the Tracer.
Stitch was fine. Honestly, Haxel not. Like Hacksaw wasn't getting the Dragon Blades, Lepolo. Stitch, to me, Stitch was. I mean, he didn't play badly. Stitch played like Stitch. Like I don't really have any complaints. Maybe a couple pulse bombs, but you can say that about any tracer, even Prophet.
Yeah.
You know, they just threw out some random pulse bombs. But for me, Runaway, you can't be beat at your own Lepolos. This is what they played for the last 3 years. I mean, see, they even tried to get away from it. That one moment, that one stretch of time in Season 4 where Cox was trying to flex onto DPS, and they had Haxel and Lucio. Disaster. They got away from that. They went back to what they're good at, the 2-2-2 Genji Tracer. You cannot be outplayed at Genji Tracer. I'm sorry, you can't. And I felt so bad because I love Runaway Lepolos. I love Runner. I don't know if you watched the intermission parts where they had
I did not
GC
actually.
Busan
I
segment.
skipped through that.
The GC Busan segment was a little weird. I didn't really like it.
I mean, that
the
seems
Runaway
like normal.
segment Lepolos was hilarious, was fantastic. It makes you like the team.
They're good at that.
It makes you like, and for me, you know, that's what, for an esport to grow, the people have to like the players, and people like Runaway. It's not just because they wear the pink, right? Even though, you know, that's why a lot of people. It's just.
Yeah, they have character.
Man, because again, Lepolos is the second time they go to Game 7. Because like at the end of the segment, Runner is like, because they pre-taped it, Runner's like, guys, if you're losing, just remember, you don't want to, you know, we did this before, we went to 7 games and lost. You don't want to go through that again. And it's like, it's heartbreaking.
Just ouch. It is heartbreaking.
I love Runaway, man. But
good series, Jax. Jax. Yeah, you got it right. But I have to ask you, how do you feel about OGN Season 5?
Lepolos, OGN CC, again, we're seeing the impact of Overwatch yet again, Lepolos. Normally, 3-4 weeks from now, we'll be going into Season 5 of OGN. 2018, we'll get OGN Season 5. How I feel about it, Lepolos, I feel horrible. Why? Rumored, Lepolos. We don't dress rumors.
We don't know. But
in this segment,
we will mention it. GC Busan is supposedly on a rumor right now, rumor mill warning, I guess, being picked up by Cloud9. So the London team to basically form a 12-man team.
How many Koreans does Jack need? He just signed Cloud9.
So would they change their name to Cloud9 Kongdu Busan? Like,
I mean, we don't even know what they're gonna brand as, Lepolos. But
I know. We'll
look
see.
at the talent that's being stolen away from Korea right now, Lepolos. LW Blue, the first one to gone. I still don't know why they did that, but that's as far as I'm going to go on that drama fest. LW Blue, gone, Lepolos. Lunatic High, they follow suit, Team Seoul. Team London, Kongju Pantera. So now you're telling me the best up-and-coming team, literally Lepolos, they came up from the contenders, you know, side of OGN, right?
Personally, I think that's a dangerous pickup. Like, yeah, they won now, Jax, but...
Lepolos, they beat the best. They beat Lunatic High, they beat Kongdu, they beat Runaway.
Yeah,
they beat the best.
I mean, Jax, like, let's go back to like former best teams and where they are now. Do you remember when NIP was beating some of the best back in the day?
Bad Lepolos.
Do you want to pick that team like for the long term? How about
look at Rogue or Immortals Lepolos?
At least they had some longevity. How about some of the others? Like, what was the team that was winning OCE and then managed to lose it in the finals to Immortals? Back then?
You would tell me that.
It wasn't Kungarna. It was LG Evil.
Probably Renegade. Renegade's LG Evil. They both collapsed levels.
Yeah, exactly.
All these teams collapsed levels.
So do you want to pick something that's hot now?
Right now, you saw that disaster with Flash Wolf series.
Yeah, we did.
Well,
we'll be talking about that.
But
I just wanted to mention this Season 5 stuff because, Jax, I'm not sure if our coverage will be as tight next time around on OGN.
NC Foxes. Really?
I mean, the good thing with all these all these players in the Western scene not being picked up by Overwatch League means we'll have about the same quality of play come season 2 of Contenders.
The 4 best teams in Korea are now gone.
Yeah. So, and we already talked about this season being sort of light. I guess Ardiant remains, Jax. Maybe they'll go back to Korea.
I don't even know how good Ardiant is because they're not at APAC
we have
whatever
no idea.
Reason, dude.
And Jax, we'll talk about the APAC. In fact, that's coming up right now. Before we get into it, Jax, we should mention...
I'm going to have to become an Arhan fan Season 5 because he's the only one left in Korea now?
AF Blue's going to dominate the region,
it's actually just AF right now.
Oh, AF, because they
red
got
and blue
right.
is just a freak of freaks right now.
That's
going by APAC.
Signs of struggle in the Overwatch scene. But we are talking about APAC now that started over in China. And before we really get into the games, I wanted to mention this is on the new patch, Jax, which means
Oh no.
we've seen some games. You know, when we covered the South African tournament a couple of weeks ago, that was on the new patch. Here we are, APAC. We have the new Mercy in, Jax.
No.
Let's go with some thoughts on what you feel about the impact of this Mercy is on the competitive scene.
I'm going to link it in chat here again on twitch.tv/Leplos, where we record every Tuesday night around 9:10 p.m. Pacific. The Overwatch Pro Scene Meta Report by Captain Planet Leplos. Mercy, 95% pick rate. Lucio, 13%. Now, some people will say, well, that's okay. Lucio has been at the top forever. The difference is how Lucio affects. Lucio makes the game more interesting, Leplos, with the speed boost, right? It allows teams to reposition. It allows... It makes the game more entertaining, where with Mercy, I don't want to watch revives all day, dude.
Yeah, no.
Oh my goodness.
It definitely has changed around the nature of these fights, particularly with Lucio going down, Jax. It's sort of interesting to see that the speed boost no longer the main thing. It used to be that everyone played around the Lucio because that formed your engaged and disengaged. And Jax, I have to say, I'm surprised we haven't been seeing more poke meta come back to be coming back, because you look at, I know why dive is still
Mercy
there, but
feeds off poke.
What's that?
Mercy feeds off poke. Mercy, oh hi, left click, yellow beam, or
yeah. But I'm trying to say, like, why doesn't your team go to more poke? Because not only that, her res is more important against 4 tanks, right? Like more health healed in an instant. / your tanks live longer, so there's more chance to res more people. And I don't know.
It's just Leplos. Her Overwatch so far, and now again, I'm trying to think if maybe we're being too rigid in that the meta has revolved quite a bit around that first pick, Leplos.
Yeah.
The team that gets that first pick is in such a huge, is in such a good spot with that. And Mercy now, she just comes around first pick. Oh, hey, I'm laughing because I just undid your first pick.
Yeah,
and
why pick
the value is too good, Leplos. It's too important to undo a kill like that.
I mean, Anna's basically gone because that's your counter main healer, and then you're left with Zen basically because Zen is the one. Zenyatta gives you the Discord Orb, which can do more damage. So
according to Captain Planet's breakdown here, 95% Mercy, 82% Zen, Leplos.
Yep.
You go all the way down to tier 4, where you'll find Anna at 6%, Lucio at 13%.
Yeah, that does not surprise me in the least for these matches. I don't think that's gonna
Leplos, Doomfist 4%,
Sombra
3%. Just what? A month, 2 months ago, we had Doomfist Sombra all day.
Yeah, we're not going to see the changes to Doomfist. I think have been a little bit too strong. I think he, in a really top player, he can still come out in the right moments and do well.
Tell that to Leaf, Leplos. Leaf just like he comes in Doomfist, boom, dead, boom, dead.
Yeah, no,
he doesn't mind the changes to Doomfist. It's still viable. It's just you had to work for it a little bit harder than you normally would.
Listen, Doomfist not Tracer level of balance. So I'll say that.
Okay.
But Jax, let's go ahead and discuss a little bit about what's been happening over in China then now with APAC.
I don't really want to because some of these games are terrible, but since you told me I have to come over here, we'll take a look at it.
Yeah, so we're in the group stages this week. In fact, I think we're through the group stages.
Yep, group is over. We're going to playoffs next week.
Yeah, so we can talk about this.
That I'm looking forward to.
Group A was the group for us to watch, I think.
Yeah.
Jax, that was the most interesting one. That's where we're going to start off. It's the one with...
No surprises here. None. No surprises here.
From the West, we had Envision coming out. From Korea, we had MVP Space. China, their representative in this group was Vici Gaming, and then we had Flash Wolves representing the OPC region. Jax, I think... I don't know. Okay, let's start with Envision first off, Jax, and talk about their games.
No surprise. Surprise.
They get 3-1 by Flash Wolves here. So let's go through the rundown on that just quickly. They managed to win the fourth map on Kings Row.
A pointless map, Leplos.
Yeah, 4-3.
It's over at that, but the series is lost.
The series is lost there. They lose all 4 maps to MVP Space. MVP Space, including shutting them down on Kings Row and Oasis. No map there for Envision. And then Vici Gaming, Jax, also shutting them or getting a win over Envision here, 3-1. And to be honest, let's talk about Vici Gaming. Vici Gaming not really doing any better. They're one win and 2 losses.
Again,
So
Lepolos, I watch some of their
only win.
games, and it's just classic Vici game. Until Vici Gaming figures out how to perform at a consistent level, they will always end up in this position. Where some tournaments, Lepolos, they do well, they make the playoffs, they go, second or third. Or here, they don't even qualify for the playoffs to finish 1-0-2 because they're inconsistent. I
Jax,
mean,
I'm not
I
sure
don't
if
know what to
you,
say.
I'm not sure how much of you. I remember watching a little bit of Vici Gaming MVP Space, not the whole series, but the Route 66 era was actually sort of entertaining, at
Yes,
least. And I clued you into that one. Did you end up
you did.
watching that one?
I did not. I mean, I remember you cluing me into it, but I didn't. I had
I'll,
things to watch. It didn't make to my rotation. You
I'll,
tell me what happened there.
okay, so this is a 4-3 score line here, Jax.
Okay.
Vici Gaming having to go on to attack second, barely make it around the corner. That's horrible, right?
Okay.
MVP Space having more time than Vici Gaming could not make that distance. Jax.
Wait, they didn't even make it past Big Earls?
They didn't make it to Big Earls.
Oh my goodness, Lepolos.
This,
Oh.
Jax, you should go
How do you
back.
not make that distance with more time, dude?
And this is the Vici Gaming I'm talking about, where they're so inconsistent. They held MVP Space to an incredible hold here, while they had more time than Vici Gaming.
This is
and
again,
won
it's
that
not
map.
surprising, Lep. It's been like this for about. Vici Gaming we've been covering them off and on, Lepolos, for over a year now. They're always like this, man. They're always, like I say, on any given Sunday, I think they could even beat MY if they play. Well, maybe not MY. MY played very well.
Yeah.
Anybody but MY in China.
Anybody but
on
MY.
any given Sunday here, Lepolos. They don't play.
They did not hear Jax. Let's go ahead and talk about MVP Space versus Flash Wolves, and this is the group decider for both teams. Had won all of their games up to this point. It was the last game of the group, actually, was between these two undefeated teams. So this was going to be the decider for the Group A.
This was some sloppy play here, Lepolos. Sloppy play.
Jax, I'm just going to say anytime anything went right for Flash Wolves, it was because Bacon Jack was doing well.
I'm not surprised here, Lepolos starting out on Oasis 2-1 to MVP Space. They lost the first map, 163, but came back and won the next two, 199, 199. Flash Wolves, Lepolos, again, we taking them back to King of the Hill. Here, they're good in that they at least push it, Lepolos. They won the first map and then they lost the next two with 99%. So they got to the end. They have got to figure out King of the Hill.
Jax,
they can't be this weak, dude. They can't. They're going into the playoffs next week, Lepolos. You cannot just cede King of the Hill to your opponent.
Yeah, they definitely disappointing from there. In fact, they did manage to win both their King of the Hills against Envision and Vici Gaming.
What does that mean, Lepolos?
That doesn't mean anything because of the two weaker teams. But it means, listen, that's better than in the OPC region where they were losing even to the bottom team, if you remember.
I think they actually dropped the map to Suns. Not to Suns. Was it Sun Sister? It was somebody terrible. I think it was. But Lepolos. From there, we go into Junkertown map 2. Flash Wolf versus MVP Space. I know you watched it. I also listened to you here, Lepolos. Cloud9. That's all I have to say here.
Horrible play. This is a serious one from them. Like, listen, if we're making end of the year highlights for 2017 of all the Cloud9 play, this one would be one of the first ones you could play, I think, Jax.
It was funny because you had Jason Kaplan who was someone calling the action, and then Jesse Jemerson is like, Flash Wolf's not on the point, and the time runs out. And Kaplan, what? He's like, I said they're not on the point. Like he said it so calmly, like Flash Wolf's not on the point. They had 6 people alive, Lepolos. 6 people alive. They didn't even get the first point, dude.
I mean,
how do you C9 like that? Not even the first point.
It's horrible because they do go on to having a great defense there, Jax, but distance was too short. It
was like 78 meters.
They probably would have won that map. They didn't, Jax. This pushes them into a bad spot against MVP Space. Temple of Anubis comes out, Jax.
Oh, this map. Oh, boy.
I mean...
Oh, boy.
Let's talk about a defensive Widow for a second, Jax.
I didn't like either team here.
Orisa on defense for MVP Space with a Widowmaker up top.
Yeah.
Interesting combination coming out, and Flash Wolves didn't know what to do with it. In fact...
Lepolos, Flash Wolves knew what to do with it, except what happened? What happened?
Well, I mean, they couldn't get the dive onto the Widowmaker. They never cleared that Widowmaker of one fact.
Levels, we have see they're trying to make us look foolish here on Overwatch Rundown because we say we don't like defensive Widow because once you pull it, you are stuck on it, and on Anubis, once you die, like you're not gonna make it back, and he just got whatever he wanted. Lepelos, like
He did.
his positioning, he was just using the upgraded Widow hook to just bounce around the map, and he was getting kills like. It was by the way, that was one fact from MVP space that we're talking about, and it wasn't as clean as Taimu because Taimu he gets these insane flicks where one fact was just okay, I'm gonna grapple over here, get a kill, grapple over there, and what happened, Lepelos? What happened again here? I take a look at K Momo. K Momo was again I believe the closest one to the payload on Junkertown when they had that C9 here, Lepelos.
Yeah.
K Momo. At the end of the game, in overtime, what happens? He steps off the point. You said he was going for that health pack, right?
Okay. So what happened was one fact got I think 1 or 2 kills late there, including
3 kills,
including on Bacon Jack, and it was a shot on Bacon Jack that because if you look at K Momo's health, it was under a quarter on his neck, so he was in dire straits. There were still 2 or 3 MVP space. I'm not going to call this one a Cloud9. It was just they're getting cleared off.
It was
late
kind of like Tizzy where he stepped off to you step off to save your life, except the game ends when you do that. So
there's no win here. Like he could have died on point, then we wouldn't have had a C9.
Baby Diva would have still been there with a bunny blaster.
Yeah, listen, okay, but
dude, Cool Matt 69 with a bunny blaster is very dangerous.
Absolutely
in the world with bunny blaster, Cool Matt 69.
But you also trust in Bacon Jack to stay alive and not to get headshot.
That was a flick. You can't again. It's you can't count on the flick from one fact hitting him like that.
You can't play around only like stay on point and only playing like that. You still need to do things like get health and do those things when there are other people around.
The biggest thing for me, like you said, one fact had no business being. Well, he should not have been allowed to stay on the Pharah for 4 minutes. They never got the pressure onto him. And Widow. Sorry, you're correct. And he just for 4 minutes. Like, let's think about it. Defensive Widow for 4 minutes.
So
no.
Flash Wolves not in good position. They didn't even get a tick. They go on defense, Jax. Orisa comes out again, high ground defense off the start with none other than your favorite Torbjorn. Anubis A-point Torbjorn. I can't even tell you the last time I've seen an A-point Torbjorn on Anubis. Man. I don't even know. I think we have to go back over a year.
Tracer, but Lepelos, you mentioned before, we're finally seeing the live patch being played at the professional level. You and I both see something we have not seen before in a pro game.
Well,
tell us. Just take it through us, right?
Well, the first thing I don't believe I've ever seen an EMP interrupted by a Sombra or on a Sombra before, and because it's a new patch, the EMP was completely wasted. So it was like something about the patch, and the first time I've seen it being interrupted.
So for those who aren't, we talked about Prophet. I think it was Prophet. In the previous series between GC Busan and RunAway, Prophet. He activated the Dragon Blade, but it didn't complete the animation before he was killed, so he was able to keep it. Now on the current live patch, if you activate your ultimate, it's gone. Like if you get slept gone. Or if you slept, you can still, if you've got timer on it, you can still use it or whatever. But you don't get a second chance to pull it out here. Here, Undying Lepelos comes in with the EMP. He was cloaked somewhat, but he uncloaked a little too early. He activated the EMP going through the animation. It's not that big an animation, right? It's very quick. Right? In that second window, he died. But because he activated the ultimate, the EMP was gone.
Yeah.
And from that point, MVP Space had no plan, Lepelos, to take this map.
Jax, this is MVP's failure, though. Like, you had the Orisa and Torb to the lower ground for over 2 minutes.
Lepelos, the turret was dead. Like, he EMP'd. If the EMP hits, they win.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree, but the rest of Flash Wolves weren't playing so well that you shouldn't be able to win that 8-point attack on the ground. But anyways, they didn't. They forced another 2CP to come out after this draw happens, which MVP Space 2-0 there. We're just going to move on quickly. Jax, 3-2 on Nimbani for Flash Wolves to pick up the last map. That doesn't really matter because MVP Space had that Hanamura win.
I talk about consistency. Victory. I was literally last thing I did before this podcast was I was eating. But while I was eating, I was watching this series, and I watched Nimbani here I go back to Vici Gaming, Lepelos, and I'm saying to myself, Flash Wolves, where was this Flash Wolves teams in the previous maps, Lepelos? They executed so well here that even if MVP Space had capped out Numbani, which they did not, Flash Wolves would have had like I think 2 minute or 3 minute time bank because of how well they played. And I feel bad because we were huge fans of Flash Wolves coming out of OPC Season 1. We were hyping them. We were thinking, come World Cup with Team Taiwan, Taipei, Lepelos, they were going to show the world that they deserve to be in contention for best top 10 in the world here. And ever since World Cup Lepelos, they've not shown it. Guardian completely stomped them into the ground at OPC Season 2 Lepelos. Here, okay, they beat Envision, they beat Vici Gaming, but when they finally face some decent competition here, Lepelos, they lose. It's not close. I mean, some of that is mental mistakes by them. I mean, I'm sorry, Junkertown quite possibly could have been their map, Lepelos, but it wasn't because mental mistakes.
Yeah.
And Temple of Anubis.
I don't even know what to say. They sort of were given that one as a draw, to be honest. But let's go ahead and talk about Group B, though, Jax. Group B consisting of, two teams from the OPC region with Blank Esports, AHQ. Chinese team was Miracle Team 1, and then we had just a Freak of Freaks down, Jax, as you said, coming out from Korea here. I think
this side of the draw actually annoys me because I look at Envision. Where's the other Western team at Lepelos? I mean, there's no BS. There is some Western team. Even if they didn't want to invite Rogue or where's Gigante Lepelos? There was there were no reports of Gigante or Team Finland acting up at their World Cup map. Why is Team Gigante not here, Lepelos?
Yeah, Gigante. That would have been actually amazing.
I mean, Gigante has no one in the World Cup, so there's no excuse there. Maybe they would not have wanted to go because some players were trying out for Overwatch League. Yeah. Or how about 1, 2, 3 Lepelos? Where's another representative of the? You mean to tell me the only representation of Western Overwatch is Envision Esports, dude?
Yeah, it's sort of disappointing, and their performance was definitely disappointing, Jax.
Come on, man.
In fact, before we go on and talk about Group B, actually, let me just mention really briefly, we were talking about Envision, about their direction, needing a bounce back here. Clearly not showing it. I'm concerned for them in the future. I think they might have hit a moment and might be losing that moment, Jax.
They hit a moment in that it was a moment in time where Immortals and Rogue were bad. Immortals, that team, well, who knows why. But with Rogue, if Envision had to play the Rogue that played Envy in the final week, the Rogue who was back at home in Vegas in their own apartments, Envision would not have beaten that team.
Yeah, I agree.
Envision got hot at the right moment. I mean, congrats to them. They did what they had to do to make their money. I don't fault them for that.
Yeah.
But I'm really upset, and I gotta stop talking about it because I've been talking about it for 3 weeks now. I'm upset at the teams that are here, Lepelos.
Yeah.
Because I wanted APAC. I may not have talked about it. I was looking forward to APAC months ago because I know APAC was a tournament where they bring in teams from OPC, from Korea, from America, from Europe. They bring in these teams, and we're gonna have the best of the best play.
Yeah.
And this is a joke, Lepelos. Group B is a joke.
Let's go ahead and talk about it really quickly. AF Blue just dominating Group 4-0, up and down. I'm not even going to talk score lines. They beat every single team 4-0. Easy there for them.
Pretty much.
Sitting at the bottom of the group, actually, a bit of a surprise for me here. HQ doing very poorly here. They got shut out twice. They were 3-1 by both Blank and MT1, Miracle Team 1, and are going home without a win, too. So pretty disappointing.
0-3 for AHQ. I won't say expected because I really don't know enough about Miracle Team 1, but I figured it would be reversed with AHQ in third, Miracle Team 1 in fourth. I expected AF, a Freak of Freaks, and Blank to go through. I expected this. AHQ, this result for me is a bit of a letdown. And for me, Lepelos, I'm looking at OPC and OPS, and now I'm wondering OPC might not be as good as I thought it was because it's all I can.
I agree with you. I think
these are two similarly placed teams in their respective regions here, and OPS comes out on top.
I don't feel like OPC has been improving at the same rates that it should be, right? Like
China improving by quite a bit.
When we saw Ardian come out and absolutely destroy Flash Wolves in this past season, it shows that there has been a skill gap, because we saw Ardian get destroyed by other OGN teams. But here, Jax, I did want to mention I saw some of the Blank and Miracle Team 1, and Huu was coming up huge there and made a big difference from them. But let's talk about playoffs now, because this actually sets up our.
I do want to say though, Lepelos, that my boy Recry not playing for Africa Freaks. Recry out, Lepelos. They brought in a tune from AF Red. AF Red is no more. A tune went over to AF Blue. Recry, I've talked up Recry so much, Lepelos. I felt like he didn't get a fair shake because the team was built around Arhan. It needed to be built around Recry. Recry gone now. A tune in. AF Blue, AF Free Freaks is winning, Lepelos, and dominant wins here.
I mean, different region though, so.
I mean, going forward, I need to see. So after this week, I'm looking at Africa Freaks, and I'm saying, you've done this before. You've gone through without dropping maps. They did it like Season 3 OGN Lepelos. They won 15 in a row, right? And then they finally played a team worth something, and they got beat. So now I'm like, you're not gonna fool me again, AF Blue or AF. If you can do it in the playoffs now, I might give you a little bit more attention. But right now, you're barely on my radar.
We'll see how quickly.
Didn't beat anybody, Lepelos.
We'll see how quickly that happens, Jax. Let's talk about the playoff bracket. Starting off at the top, Miraculous Youngsters versus Blank. Listen,
MY. Not even done. MY.
Blank is going to get
I like
destroyed.
Blank, but Blank just not.
They're going to get destroyed in that one. Runaway versus MVP Space, sort of an interesting one. I think Runaway will probably take this one.
The only concern I have for Runaway is lack of practice on the live patch Lepelos.
Yes.
They've spent all this time gearing up for OGN Finals, which is on the old patch. Who's going to play Mercy? Cox? You gonna put Cox on Mercy? You barely got the guy to play Zen. He wanted to get off. He wanted to get on DPS so bad.
You put Bumper on Mercy and you run the Zen on Cox. That's what you do.
Lucio's out, so
yeah, that's what you do.
You think?
Yeah,
okay.
I do think that's what they probably should do. But Runaway's a scrappy team. MVP Space showing some weakness in messy fights, and I think Runaway will have that advantage.
I'll take Runaway here.
GC Busan versus Flash Wolves. GC Busan is on odds.
See, again, if this was 3 months ago, I would tell you I can't wait to see this game. And now I look at Flash Wolves playing here, Lepelos. Bacon Jack, good tracer. He's not at profit level, and he's probably at Hureg's level. If GC Busan plans on running that reverse comp again, but they're another team. The only concern I have is lack of practice on the live patch. That being said, GC Busan or GC Busan Cloud9 Kangdu, I don't know what they're called now, Lepelos.
Right.
I'm expecting them to win this.
Yeah, me too. And that puts us into the last matchup, which is 1-2-4-6 out of the OPS region and Africa Freaks. This is the hardest one to read, I think, in my perspective, because 1-2-4-6
so wishy-washy. So wishy-washy.
What, season 1 winner of OPS?
Because they got hot. Like in the regular season, they were average, and then they got hot in the playoffs. In season 2 of OPS, they did. They started out really poorly. They went hot to make the playoffs, and then didn't go anywhere in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Then there was another tournament after the playoffs, the Grand Finals, where again they got hot and qualified here for the direct invite here. I'm going to say Africa Freaks.
I am going with Africa Freaks on this one too. I think they have it to have a strong victory over 1-2-4-6. Maybe not a dominant victory, but like a 3-0. Are these best of 5s? I think they're best of 5s. No, best of 7s. Okay, these are all best of 7s.
Quarterfinal best of. There's so much to. There's so much to watch, dude.
There's going to be a lot to watch. We'll cover probably the finals in full, but
this starts at 1 day 30 minutes from now is when we get MY versus Blank. So this time tomorrow, MY versus Blank.
And for the finals, Jax, do you have any predictions about who's going to be in the finals?
If I'm just looking at it, I cannot see. I'm looking at the semifinal here, Lepelos. I'm hoping it's MY versus Runaway. Yeah,
that will be interesting.
That could be really good. With how MY played in the OGN Seoul Cup, which was on the live patch, I can't really pick against them. I mean, yes, they lost to Lunatic High,
but I'm talking grand finals, though, right?
I'm taking MY
for everything.
See, I'm looking at MY. I'm looking at MY versus GC Busan in the finals, dude, and
That's
it's like
what I'm considering
that could be so good, Lepelos.
I I
That
think
could be so good.
I think Miraculous Youngsters, they have more preparation
Oh
time. I
man.
think they're gonna go all the way, Jax.
Can I pick against GC Busan?
Mm,
GC Busan beat Lunatic Kai. It was the old Lunatic Kai who ran Lee Tae-jun.
Yeah,
By the way, it
that
feels
didn't
bad. Lee
have.
Tae-jun, no one not mentioned anywhere on Team Soul Uploads. No mention of him. Maybe a coach. But
That's fine by me. But all right, Jax, that covers this portion of the
I'm
rundown.
taking MY. Yeah, I will go MY. It's gonna be good, dude. At least I hope it's good. But again, last time I mentioned it, where is Ardent Lepelos? I need because see to get a clear picture of where OPC stands, I need to see Ardent in this group here. Why not? God damn, dude.
Yeah,
But
definitely some more options would have been nice, but we're not fortunate this time around for APAC. Maybe next year will be better. Let's go through the
also
rundown
hearing
of some
rumors of
other.
MY moving into the Team China slot Lepelos for the World Cup. We'll see. We'll see how that
I mean,
one
that's a whole
goes.
nother discussion that we can have next week, Jax, leading up into the World Cup about some of the changes there. But let's go ahead and go through the
I
rundown
don't
this
agree
week.
with some of them Lepelos, but continue.
I don't either, but we've got Overwatch Team Story Chapter 3 going on in
Okay.
playoffs.
Yep. If I remember correctly, Lepelos, the winner of Team Story qualifies directly to OPS, Overwatch Premier Series Spring. And the second, third, and fourth, they go into a qualifier for OPS. So that's what they're playing for, plus some money.
In the playoffs, we've got a couple 3-0s, Moss 7 Club and Lao Yin B, both getting their wins to make it on to the semifinals.
We've covered Lao Yin B before.
They have.
I remember them.
They have been on our podcast previously, so here they're still showing up. So recognizable name. We'll see if they continue.
Did we cover
on.
P90? That name is familiar to me.
I'm not
We'll
sure
see.
if they've been on. We still have
Okay.
quarterfinal games coming up. Actually, it looks like it's going to be coming up in just a few hours between JD Gaming and ADG,
Okay.
as well as between P90 and Rush B Gaming. So we'll keep our eye on what's
We'll
happening
probably
with
give
that.
the finals. This is another best of 7. We'll probably give the finals a little coverage here, Lepelos, because if I'm gonna go click on this link here, I think this is $53,000 tournament. That's a pretty decent prize pool. So we'll give them a little cover. I can't say how much, but we'll give them some coverage for the finals here.
Yeah.
Um,
Speaking of coverage and why are we giving it, let's go over to Brazil where we have
No.
Campeonato Brasileiro.
no.
Jax, all 2 O's again this week. It doesn't look like there have been any
Okay.
upsets at all in any of these 2 O's for all 4 games. Okay, so that one's
Lepelos,
done.
1, 2, 3. There's still 6 weeks to go in this
So
thing.
we're done with it for this week. Let's go ahead and talk about the Asus Republic of Gamers Tournament 2017 at GameXpo.
Okay.
Is this on into playoffs now?
The playoffs. It's going into the playoffs, which will occur the same week of BlizzCon World Cup. So I don't.
We're this is actually on the back burner right now. Sorry for including this one because we actually talked about Gigante winning last week.
Oh, we did. That's right.
So this is nothing new there either, which means we're already on to talking about one of our last things to talk about this week, which is the bi-monthly Brawl down in the Australia-New Zealand region. I think there was going to be a couple of important games this week, if I remember correctly.
Somewhat
Like
important.
somewhat
But
everything.
wait a minute. What are these W's? The
It
teams.
looks like there's been a couple of teams
Forfeits.
no longer playing the project.
Oh,
Instant Gaming now
man.
out of it. So this tournament running into some issues, but let's just talk about standings right now. Four Legs remaining undefeated even as they faced. Did they even face anyone? No.
Nope, they had projects and
Oh,
I mean
they
they
did
beat
beat-
Mastermind Blue, which
Yeah.
is the third ranked team, but I mean Four Legs with no blank there, Lepelos, Four Legs looking like a dominant team in the Oceanic region right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So see if they continue next week. They play against.
Mastermind GC.
And they also play against the
Wow,
last game of the
so
week is the
Dark
other
Side,
important
yeah.
one, where Four Legs play against number 2 team, which has 2 losses in Dark-Sided. So that's the game of next week to watch out for. This week, not really. Yeah, Mastermind's Blue
quiet
perhaps winning over Atletico. That's the important one to make sure that they're tied there. So we'll keep our eye out and see what's going on. There's still 3 weeks left. Jax, that's actually it for the rundown right then and there.
I think we wanted to add in Team Valiant.
Yeah, we're gonna.
The recently announced team, formerly Team Immortals, is now branded as Team Valiant Leplos. It's interesting. I didn't know AEG had bought into the Immortals franchise. So,
The what?
you know, AEG. AEG owns a number of sports teams. They have their fingers in a lot of pies, so to speak. I read an interview by Noah Winston, the CEO of Immortals, where he was talking about not just the Overwatch team, but the expansion that they're doing, which is what. See, we talk about foundation a lot, or we have talked about it up close, where we look at the Koreans and their coaching and how much work they put into it. And so it was an interesting interview that he gave because he was talking about not only Overwatch, but they're building or they're putting together a campus out in Culver City, which is, suburb of LA basically, where they're gonna have everybody, right? So I'm just looking at the work that Immortals is doing to try to get back to where they were Leplos. The season 1 Immortals was bad. There's no other way to put it.
Of
And
contenders.
I was curious to see what kind of investment the ownership would put into that team. And it's not just that the Overwatch team, but into their brand in general. And basically what I'm saying is they're putting in a lot of work because they're talking about LA Live is an entertainment complex here in Los Angeles, Leplos, where it encompasses Staples Center where the Lakers play and the Kings play, and it will be where the Los Angeles Valiant will play their games once the teams break off into their individual cities following season 1.
Yeah, that's
So,
pretty exciting for them to be involved in that kind of a complex, then for sure.
it was interesting to read. It's interesting to see. I'm not the hugest fan of the LA Valiant.
The team
Well, the
name, or
name Valiant, the whole
it sounds
logo,
a little a bit
we'll
like a
see.
drug company or something like that. You need some heart protection, go to LA Valiant. Are you? Side effects may include up and downs. What
Oh
good one
man,
season down in
Levels.
others.
This is a PG. This is a PG podcast. But so far, I think we've got what San Francisco Shock. We've got, and by the way, there was some Twitter
Dallas
drama
Fuel,
between the Shock and the
which was
Valiant that was
hilarious, but
deleted. But
yeah.
Dallas Fuel. So we've got what Dallas Fuel, San Francisco Shock, LA Valiant. I think that's it that we
I
have
think.
confirmed so
Oh
far.
no, we have the Shanghai Dragons.
Oh, Shanghai Dragons. That's the roster I'm very curious in. Like,
Yeah.
are they gonna sign Team MY? Like, I have no Chinese contacts, so if you know what's going on it, hit me up at Jax Blake on Twitter, Jax JAX_Blake,
Yeah.
or you can hit up Lepelos at Lepelos. You can catch us live on Twitch every Tuesday night, between 9 and 9:10 is when we start Pacific on twitch.tv/Lepelos. You can also find it a recording of it on YouTube, Lepelos' YouTube channel. Just Google like YouTube Lepelos and it'll be there. Or hit us up at OW Rundown. If you've got the inside scoop, break it. Give us some leaks here. Leak it to at OW Rundown on Twitter. We want to know what's going on with the Shanghai Dragons. We don't know Lepelos. Who's gonna represent that team?
I absolutely not, Jax. I think that's pretty much it for this week, though. So
Okay.
thanks for tuning in, everyone, and we'll catch you again next week.
Lepelos. I mean, I'm hearing so many rumors out of there. Like, how do you sign anyone but MY to China? I don't know.
Jax, I always love it. You always manage to talk over the exit music, but it's
I don't
always